Hey, friends. Welcome back to Honest Christian Conversations. I'm your host, Anna Murby. This week's guest is Karen Dittman. I enjoyed talking to her so much. We talked a lot about mom things and community, which are two things that moms have a difficulty making. But her situation is a little more interesting because of the age difference between her kids and how she came to be a mom in the first place. You're really going to enjoy what she has to say. She's got such a sweet heart, and her story reminds me so much of God's grace and mercy. I pray that you are encouraged by this episode. And if you need community, please make sure that you join the Honest Christian Conversations community because we're here for you. Everyone is invited who wants to have a deeper relationship with God and who wants to grow in their faith with others who are like-minded. So if that is you and you need a community, you are welcome to join. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you for spending your time with me today. For all returning listeners, I'm glad you're back. After the episode, please leave a review for the podcast if you haven't already done so. If you have, thanks so much. I appreciate reading your encouraging comments. They help me improve the content for you all. Want a shout out on the next mini-sode? Check out the links in the show notes. Thanks for your support. God bless and enjoy the show. Thank you, Karen, for coming on the show today. I'm very excited to talk to you. You have a unique story. I have heard it on a different podcast. Shout out to Regina Bartlett's podcast, Will and Grace. That's where I heard your story, where you mentioned how you have a 10-year-old in your seasoned years. We'll go with that because I'm pretty much there. My husband and I are there too. I'm in my 40s and he's in his 50s and we've got 5 kids. So yeah, but tell us, first of all, how did you come to faith in Christ? And then we'll get into how you ended up having 2 adult children and then having a 10-year-old along the way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's all God.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how I came to Christ, I grew up in a church-going family. So my parents would take us to church every Sunday, and it was very formal, and it was not like where we really heard the gospel, but we were churchgoers, and that's how they grew up. That's how they raised us. And then at one point, my mom had gone back to work and one of her coworkers, I think it was actually her boss, had come to Christ. And so he shared the gospel with her and she accepted Christ. And then she started telling us, our family, and I was probably 10 years old, 10, maybe 11 at this time, but she started telling our family how we needed to invite Jesus into our hearts. Well, I had always believed in those cosmic scales, If my good deeds outweigh my bad deeds, then God will be happy with me and I can get into heaven.
Yeah.
So when she started talking about you need to invite Jesus in your heart, I was like, why? What's this other thing I need to do? It's the way I saw it. But then I watched and God changed her dramatically. She had grown up in a family where her father was verbally and emotionally abusive. It's not that she was a bad mom, but she had her baggage.
Yeah.
And she struggled with expressing love too. And I'm the oldest in the family, so I felt it more than I think my younger siblings.
Yeah.
And so she started changing and she became loving like she had never been before. And after a while, both my father and I went, this is real. I want in on this. And so we trusted Christ. My younger sister and brother, not long after, also came to Christ. And so we went from being a church-going family to a family of faith at that point. But that's how I came to Christ. And like I said, I think I was about 11 years old at that point.
That's awesome. It's amazing when you can see God changing someone's heart, especially when you're used to them being one way and then all of a sudden they're different. That definitely changes one's perspective about things and changes their own heart. It's like, well, if that can happen for them, it can happen for me at whatever it is I want in on that. Like you said, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. Yeah. God is just, I've got the word grace here on my wall. And that was the power of God's grace to change her, change who she was.
Yeah. Yeah. God's grace is amazing.
Yes.
So let's get into your story now. So you have two grown adult children, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're not biological, correct?
Right. Our oldest two we adopted. My husband and I really wanted to have kids and just, it wasn't possible. He had some autoimmune issues that compromised his reproductive system. And so we got to the point where the doctor said, well, unless you want to do in vitro fertilization, you're not going to get pregnant. You're not going to have a child the natural way. I had watched some friends go through that and I just went, that emotional cost is not worth it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a few years, we decided to go ahead and adopt kids. And so we had two kids that we adopted and we thought our family was complete, had been, we were raising them by the time they were in their early teens. My daughter, the younger of the two, really, really wanted us to adopt again. And we were doing some ministry with some organizations in Haiti at the time. And we had gone after that big earthquake in Haiti. That was like 13 years ago.
Wow.
No, longer than that. Anyway, after that earthquake, we had gone to Haiti, not immediately, but in the years following with the family. And we were serving with some orphanages. And my daughter's like, look, this little baby, we can adopt this one. Michael and I prayed about it and just God said, no, that's not what I have for you. She was like, God's not answering my prayers because I want to have a sibling. I want to adopt another baby. But then, surprise, surprise, a couple years later, she was 13 and my son was 15 and they got a baby sister.
How did your
Yeah.
daughter react when you told her that?
She actually said that she had gotten to the point where she thought that God didn't hear her. At 12, 13, she was wrestling with a lot of things in her life, and her story is her story. But just with being adopted, there are a lot of things that children can tell themselves, a lot of stories they can believe about being rejected, not being really loved, not really having a family. And so she had felt like, well, I guess God doesn't really hear me. God doesn't really love me. And my husband was like, hey, guess what? This pregnancy, this is the answer to your prayers. God heard you.
Yeah.
So she was thrilled. She was excited. And when her younger sister was born, she was an amazing helper. She was just right in there. She loves little kids and babies. And so she was a great helper at first. It was, yeah.
How did you and your husband react to this?
Well, so what's really funny is we had been on vacation. It was during the summer. We'd been on vacation. We came home and I was just feeling really just run down, really crummy, like not morning sickness, but every evening I'd be like, I just don't feel good.
Yeah.
And after about a week or so of this, he was like, do you think maybe you should take a pregnancy test? And I was like, no, I mean, I'm 46.
Yeah.
No, my body is changing. And he was like, really? And I was like, fine, okay, set your mind at ease. I'll do a pregnancy test. And then it came back positive, and I was just like, whoa, wait, what? God, you really? I was just, I was blown away. I was shocked. We were both thrilled. The whole family, we were just so excited. But it was a shock, but it was also a joy to actually have that biological child that we had thought would never happen.
Yeah, I can imagine that because in my family, having 5 kids already, and then my kids keep saying, "Oh, we want another sibling." It's, your dad's 50, I'm 40. No, it's not happening. So for us to have a positive pregnancy test would be more like, okay, God, what are you doing? Are you kidding me right now? But I can see it from your perspective, even in your advanced ages, that you would be thrilled with it because you were told you'd never be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And it just completely blew the lid off that. And God said, no, I'm in control.
Yes.
And that would just give you that assurance that he sees you, that he knows what you've been through, and that he loves you, and to answer your daughter's prayer in a way she wasn't expecting either.
Yeah.
So that definitely, I could see how you guys would be initially shocked. Like, I didn't think this was possible, but also at the same time be extremely thrilled. Unlike somebody in my position who would be like, whoa, okay, we got to do this all over
Now I've got,
again.
yeah, yeah. And at this point in my life, I mean, now I'm in my late 50s and like it's not happening. But at this point in my life, I was like, no, I don't want to have to go through the baby stage again.
Yeah.
I've got two
It's not
granddaughters.
easy.
Last fall, I potty trained my 3-year-old granddaughter because her dad and her mom were just like her mom had tried. Her dad and mom are no longer together, but her mom had really tried. But she just needed like somebody who had the time to stay with her for 3 days straight and focus on make sure you use the potty when you need to. So I was like, I'll just do this for you. And then I'm like, okay, this hopefully is the last child I will have to potty train. I really hope that's the last time I have to do that.
Yeah, potty training. Oh, the struggle is real with that one.
Yeah.
So, through having your 3 children, what struggles have you and your husband gone through that you've noticed God working in? Because there's definitely going to be struggles, especially with adopting. I know you mentioned a little bit that your daughter had some of her own struggles that she was going through. And adoption is such a beautiful example of unconditional love because you know ahead of time, for the most part, what they've been through, where they're from, and yet you still choose them. And that is such a significant example of Christ's love for us and how he chooses us. He knows what we've done, what we're going to do, what we're in the middle of doing, and yet he still chose to die on the cross for our sins. He wanted us in his family. So it is a really beautiful example. And every single time I hear of someone that they've adopted, I just immediately go to that and remind myself that I am blessed to be adopted into God's family. So, how did you guys make it through the difficult struggles when you had your 2 older children?
I think one of the blessings for us was that we were married for 11 years before we had our first child. And so we had a lot of time to get really grounded and solid in our relationship with each other. That was super helpful. And also having this perspective that we are following where God has led. And it's still not really easy. But, parenting, I don't know how old your oldest is, but, even
She's
when they're in their,
18.
she's 18. So, even when they're in their 20s, there are needs. And also I have to be aware of how I can show up with the boundaries of this is what I can do for you, and this is what you can do for yourself. But through the years, my son struggled with ADHD, and we didn't know that what he was experiencing was ADHD until he was 19. And then he was diagnosed. And then my daughter, just kind of for a long time, she, again, just because that story, even for a while at first, she was awesome as a big sister. And then she kind of fell into this belief that, well, they love the baby who's their biological child more than they love me. I don't really understand how, and I deal with this a lot even now. Children get this perspective that love is limited. Like you have to love someone, there's only a certain amount. You can love someone more than others. But anyway, my daughter, before I had gotten pregnant and then a while after the baby was born, had fallen into some really unhealthy relationships and had started using drugs. And there was just some really horrible stuff that she just kept going down a road for a long time. And so for me there was a challenge of how do I protect and guard her when she is running as far and as hard and as fast as she can away from the structures and the limits that we're trying to set up with our family.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to the point when she was 19. She was homeless and not living with us. And she had a baby. So we were raising her 3-year-old daughter at that point. By God's grace, he, in his timing, brought her back. And she is sober and doing well and getting her feet back under her. But she went through a hard time. And so for me, I had to really walk this road of learning what are the boundaries that I need to hold and where do I need to say, this is her journey. And, for all of my kids. And so going through literally just the hardest thing I could imagine going through as a parent. I mean, there are also other hard things. Like I've known people who have lost children to cancer and to other things. So it's not like the only really hard thing or the hardest possible thing.
No, I know what you mean.
One of these really, really hard, what feels like an impossible road has taught me that I'm not in control of my children. I can set up boundaries, I can set up limits, but ultimately, even when they're young, they are their own people and they are on a journey that God has for them. And I can't control it as much as I want to protect them and stop them from experiencing pain.
Hey, friends, are you looking for a community where you can grow deeper in your faith? Maybe that's not quite your thing, and you like receiving emails that encourage and edify you because you can do that on your own time. Did you just realize that you have a special occasion approaching and you need a unique gift fast? Well, be prepared to get excited because Honest Christian Conversations has you covered on all these things. Join the Facebook community and connect with fellow believers who are seeking to deepen their faith. I'm in the group, so we'll get to chat too. Sign up for the mailing list and stay informed about the podcast and receive weekly challenges and Bible verses designed to equip you spiritually for the coming week. I don't know about you, but I could use more spiritual equipping during my weeks. When you sign up, you get my free 7-day devotional as a thank you gift. Explore the store and discover the handcrafted items that are inspired by my favorite Bible verses. There are some fantastic conversation starter pieces in that store that everyone's going to love. They're not just about the podcast, but they are most importantly about Christ. Now that you have stopped jumping for joy, join the community, the mailing list, and check out the store. I appreciate your support. God bless.
It's not me.
Yeah, I'm learning that daily. My eldest is a prodigal child right now and going through a lot of different things that I can't change. I can't do anything. She's an adult now. And my others, I try really hard to hold on to them, but I don't want to hold on too tight because I don't want them to be like I was. I was very sheltered. And I feel like that wasn't too helpful for me when I got older because then I wanted to try the things that I wasn't able to do before. You're right. It's hard to find that healthy balance of what I can do and what I can't do and what I can allow them to do and to even trust God through the process that He ultimately loves them more than we do. And we need to allow Him to do what He needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's definitely parenting is not easy at any age.
It's not. And adopted or biological or foster or whatever, or, raising grandchildren, it's not easy. Parenting isn't for cowards. But by the grace of God, we can just watch Him work. And I just encourage you, with your daughter you said your daughter, right? Or your oldest anyway.
Yes, my daughter.
Yeah, in that prodigal stage, I am seeing so many people who have got kids who have walked away and then come back and been powerhouses for God. So I pray that He catches her heart and in a way that she would never have experienced otherwise. I pray that you get to see that.
Yeah, amen. Me too. So how has your church, your local church, been instrumental in helping you through the struggles you have gone through and the ones that you might be going through now?
And over the years, we've been part of different churches. When our older two were younger, we were part of a really, really tight, small-ish church, up to about 100 people probably. So it was small enough that everybody knew everybody. Yeah. And so we had people who were investing in us and cared about us and praying with us. And then our pastor from that church, he and his family were called to Ireland to be missionaries, and things changed. And we kind of lost some of that support when we needed people to recognize that we needed support and that we needed to just see God's love in all of that. And instead we had people, and there was like new youth group leaders And their response was, well, if she's not going to walk the straight and narrow, then we're kicking her out of the youth group.
Mm.
And that was not what our family needed at that point. So
Yeah.
we are
It's
now
not
in,
helpful at any
no,
stage in life to say,
no,
oh, well, you're on your own spiritually. Goodbye.
yeah,
This terrible thing when churches do things like that. It's not,
yes.
where's the grace? Where's the grace and the mercy that is shown to you? Sorry.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Continue.
exactly. I mean, we needed mercy and grace, and we needed somebody to come alongside our daughter and say, hey, what you're doing, you are, you're walking away from God. And just to love her and show her God's love instead of saying, oh, we're going to church discipline you now. I mean,
Hmm.
who church disciplines a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's not what it's for.
yeah. But now we are part of a really small house church, and we have people around us who love us and who will come alongside us and will call us up to call us into greater places of walking with God when we need it. And we have people who, I mentioned I'm raising my granddaughter, and people who love our kids just as much as we do.
Hmm.
And even as simple as I can be sitting and trying to worship, and the 6-year-old walks into the room and somebody else will grab her a bagel or a donut.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
Having people who see and care for us and for our kids just shows us how God sees us. And it is a beautiful thing that we're experiencing in our church right now.
That's good. Yeah. A strong Christian foundation and a community is very vital to having a successful family life, I believe. I mean, you need to have a community with you to help you through the tough times, to help you with simple things. I mean, if you're in the middle of worshiping, your child wants to come up to you, to have somebody who's like, let's go do this. Now let's let your mom have her moment with God. Then your child gets to see that that is a sacred moment. That is an important thing. Why? And then maybe they can ask the person who took them to go get the donut. Maybe they can ask you later and say, hey, mom, why did so and so do this when I was coming to see you while you were worshiping? What's the significance of that? And then you get a teaching moment to explain the significance of sometimes you have to have that quiet time with God and you can't be interrupted. I mean, Jesus went many times off on his own to go find seclusion. There's a significance to it. You need it. Moms don't always get that. I mean, I go to the bathroom and my kids will just walk in the bathroom. And if lock the door, they'll just knock on it until I answer or talk to me through it. So it's like, why even bother at this point?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so that's mom life. You don't always get those moments to yourself. So to have a church family that sees when it's important, sees that that's needed, and can fill a need that your child has that someone else can fill, then that is a really good church find. And there aren't too many churches out there doing that. They're more just legalistic, or like you said, someone's doing something bad, they're just going to excommunicate you, or they're just going to, stop talking to you because your child's doing this. I don't want my child near that. Maybe it's going to rub off on them. And it's not healthy. And it does not help the believer or the one who's got the faith that's wavering. It's not going to help them come to Christ.
That's so true. That's so true. And, you were talking about how much we need community, and also we need our time and our space alone with God. And that's one of the things that I think we need to sometimes wrestle with, that tension, like need community. I need support. I need people who see me and who will support me, who will speak into my life what I need to hear, and also sometimes need solitude and alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this tendency, I think, in our churches to be like, I'm good. I've got this.
Mm-hmm.
I can support everybody else, but I don't need anybody to support me.
Yeah.
And it's so important to recognize, no, I can't go it alone. And to stop trying to power through doing everything on my own, and to ask for help or ask for friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm all actually, through a Facebook moms group or two that I'm part of, I see more moms reaching out and saying, I just need friends.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to be my friend? And I see that more in the world than I do in the church, because in the church, we have to look like we've got it all, or we think we have to look like we've got it all together, and we don't need people, but we really do need people. We really need community support.
Yeah, without my church community, I don't know where I would be, because going through my second divorce, I didn't have any family near me. I didn't have anyone, and I had just barely started going to the church that I was at. So I was picking myself up spiritually, came back to Christ, didn't have anyone but God to rely on. And He said, I will take care of you. And He sent me two wonderful ladies who helped me get back on my feet. And my stepmom was very instrumental in helping me with that too. And I had just barely met her too, because my dad had just remarried. So I didn't even really know her, but she came to live with me and helped me get back on my feet. And if I didn't have that community, I don't know how I would have survived, because I had two young kids at that point. They're 5 and 1. So yeah, you definitely need to have a community. Moms struggle the most with this, I think, because we feel like we got to have it all together. We're scrolling through Instagram and we see all these moms making all these fancy lunches for their kids. And we're like, oh, I just threw in some chips in a sandwich that, the peanut butter may have been expired. I don't know. We're not all the same. And some people can do that. Some can't. Some strain themselves trying to make that video and make it look like they got it all together, but maybe they don't have it all together. And that's where we forget to think, is that this is only a snippet of what they're wanting us to see. What aren't they showing us? And once we start realizing that we are all struggling with something, I think we can stop comparing ourselves to others. And moms need to have a community. Like my church has a moms group, and it's very important, because a lot of times we feel alone, because we're with the kids all day and we don't have adults to talk to. And then we want to talk to our husbands and they're like, we don't want to talk. We've been at work. We're good. We just want to do nothing. And we're like, but we want to talk to someone who's got a bigger vocabulary than a toddler. Can we just talk to you? You don't have to say anything. We're just going to talk to you, and to have that mom group who understands is definitely helpful. And yeah.
Even to have conversations with other moms who get it, that I might be in the middle of a sentence and somebody comes up and is like, hey, I need something.
Yes.
Take me to the bathroom, whatever,
Yes.
And it's like, oh no, I get it. That happens. So
yeah.
what a blessing.
Or you make plans and then you're
Yes.
like, oh, hey, one of my kids threw up. Sorry. And they're like, oh, I got it. I get it.
Yep.
I never used to want community. I used to be, I'm a lone wolf. I don't need anybody, because I had been burned before. So I didn't want to deal with it anymore. So it's like, I don't need people. I can do this on my own. And then as I got older and started going through certain things, I realized I can't do this all on my own. And at some point, God gave me really good, solid friends that I still have to this day, that I enjoy being with, and I make plans to go out with just us on top of hanging out with our kids. And I finally realized this is what I needed all along. This is what I want. And I'm glad that I have it. And community is everything important to a thriving community, a thriving life, a thriving marriage. Yeah, I can't stress it enough.
Yes. I totally agree. Yeah.
So, do you have a website where people can connect with you if they want to, pick your brain about adoption, or how you're handling your kids' ADHD, or how you handled things with your daughter while she was being a prodigal, raising grandchildren, potty training, any of these things? How will people get a hold of you?
Yeah, my website is KarenADittman.com. You have to put the A in there, otherwise you get somebody different. But yeah, people can find me through my website, and they can see things that I've got going on, opportunities to engage with teachings that I'm doing. And yeah, I've even got a link to all the podcasts that I'm interviewing on is there. So
nice. That's good. All right. Well, thank you, Karen, so much for coming on and talking with us. You're a very sweet woman, and you have so much love in you. I can tell just by the fact that you adopted children and when God threw you a major curveball, you praised him through it. And yeah, couldn't have been easy to handle, but I can see that you are leaning on God, and to have a good community to help you is definitely a great thing. So I thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today. Friends, did you enjoy the episode? I'm so glad to hear it. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or my website, honestchristianconversations.com. Your reviews help boost the podcast in the ratings, so let's make these honest conversations more accessible to those who need them. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss another episode. And while you're doing that, why not share the podcast with someone? If you want a shout out on the podcast, or to join the community and mailing list, and to check out the Honest Christian Conversation store, the links for all these are in the show notes. Once again, thank you for spending time with me today. I look forward to our next conversation.